Emma buys some coffee beans from her ex-boyfriend and brings them for Kate and Ginny to try. She opens up about how, back when she first started her luxury sales job, she was so focused on material things that she broke up with him because he couldn't buy her the expensive items she wanted. While she regrets being so shallow back then, she also feels it worked out because now she's with Kevin. Kate shares that she has to give her all to running the tea factory and will need to spend a lot of time in the remote village to manage it. That night, Dave helps Pete plan a romantic evening for Ginny, but it ends up being awkward. Ginny tells Pete that some things can't be forced and that they're just not meant to stay married. The next day, Pete tries to get Ginny to talk to him by purposely making things difficult around the house. He tightens the lids on all the jars and raises the coat racks so high that she has to ask him for help. It turns out all of these tricks were Dave's mischievous ideas. At the gym, a strange woman strikes up a conversation with Emma, commenting on how the yearly membership is expensive and mentioning they have a branch in Hong Kong. Emma explains that her boyfriend paid for her membership, and she didn't realize how costly it was. The woman gives her a strange look. Emma uses the fact that the gym has a Hong Kong branch to bring up the idea of moving there with Kevin again. But Kevin dismisses it, saying she should stay in Shanghai. Emma finds it odd that Kevin has taken her everywhere except Hong Kong, where he's based. Meanwhile, Kate becomes more passionate about running the tea factory, despite the challenges. At first, she's nervous about being alone in the village, but over time, she starts to feel the warmth and support of the villagers, who grow to care for her. While Kate is busy running the tea factory, James is at home frequently watching and liking Anna's stories on social media. Despite saying he would cut off contact, the woman Emma met at the gym visits Miss Hill and asks Emma to be her sales assistant. At first, Emma is very enthusiastic, but the woman keeps trying on many outfits without liking any of them. Emma starts feeling uncomfortable and exhausted from having to clean up the clothes the woman rejected in the fitting room, spending hours without making a single sale. Finally, a kind colleague of Emma offers to take over for her. Only then does the woman randomly choose a tie to buy. Meanwhile, Ginny visits her parents' house and finds Pete already there. He's trying to win over her parents by buying gifts and cooking for them. Ginny feels irritated but has to play along with Pete, pretending to be a happy couple in front of her parents. As Ginny and Pete drive home, Ginny confronts Pete, saying she knows what he's up to. Pete assumes she finally understands his feelings, but Ginny actually believes Pete regrets offering to split the house with her and is trying to win her over so she'll change her mind. Pete gets furious at the ridiculous assumption, and they start arguing again. Kate is struggling to find investors for her tea factory. Everyone rejects her, claiming the market is too saturated, and a small factory like hers has no future. Jack, meanwhile, takes Ginny to register for driving lessons as a belated birthday gift. He promises to help her pass, and Ginny, touched by his thoughtfulness, decides to start learning. After being turned down repeatedly, Kate wants to give up and close the tea factory. However, the village leader calls her, encouraging her to try again. Kate goes back to talk to the investor one more time. She explains that after staying in the village for half a month, she has witnessed the villagers' simple, honest way of life. The tea they produce is entirely handmade, unlike industrial products. Kate also shares her startup journey, her debt, and her desire to provide jobs and security for the villagers and their children. The investor offers to buy her project outright, but Kate refuses, saying she only trusts herself to see it through and walks away. The investor, however, follows her and invites her back into his office. He tells her to close the tea factory and offers her a job at his company instead. Kate returns home, exhausted and disappointed, sharing the experience with James. She tells him how disheartening the meeting was but also realizes that the tea factory and the village are precious gems she should continue to nurture. Just then, the investor calls and informs her that they've decided to invest in her project. Kate is overjoyed. At Miss Hill, the strange woman from the gym returns and continues to torment Emma. She becomes more and more unreasonable, and Emma patiently endures it. But the final straw comes when the woman makes a snide remark, asking if Emma is so good at pleasing men because she works in customer service. Insulted, Emma finally snaps and prepares to walk away. The strange woman finally selects a tie, claiming she's buying it for her husband, and hands Emma her credit card for payment. Emma is shocked when she sees Kevin's name on the card. The woman then reveals that she and Kevin got engaged 7 years ago. Though Kevin doesn't believe in marriage, everyone in Hong Kong considers them as good as married. She threatens Emma, warning her to back off from Kevin if she wants to keep her job. Emma is completely devastated by this revelation. Distraught, Emma goes to Kate for advice. Kate advises her to stay calm and not believe the woman's words right away. She suggests Emma message Kevin and ask him to come see her in person. When Kevin makes an excuse, saying he's too busy to come, Emma starts believing what the woman told her. She feels heartbroken, realizing that everything Kevin had said and done for her might have been a lie. As if things couldn't get worse, Emma faces trouble at work. A customer demands to buy a display handbag that Emma, distracted by her relationship troubles, forgot to put up the display-only sign. When she tells the customer that the bag is not for sale, the woman makes a huge scene. In the end, the store has no choice but to sell the rare handbag. Stacy takes this opportunity to scold Emma and reports her to headquarters for losing one of the store's most valuable items. Emma finally confronts Kevin about the situation. He admits that what the woman, Bella, said was true, but he also confesses that he has fallen in love with Emma and only her. Kevin promises to end things with Bella so he can fully be with Emma. Meanwhile, Kate finds an ice cream receipt in James' jacket pocket and casually asks him about it. James explains that a park employee in Beijing bought him ice cream to try, but he doesn't mention that it was Anna. Although James tries to brush it off, Kate jokes that she thought he went on a date with someone. At this point, Dave steps in to cover for James, suggesting that maybe the employee expected James to pay them back for the ice cream. However, even Dave starts to feel that something seems off with James. Later, Kate finds a keychain that Anna gave James in his office drawer. When James walks in, he acts clueless and says he bought it for Henry. But his awkwardness raises Kate's suspicions. She confiscates the keychain, sensing something isn't right with his behavior. Kate talks to Dave and asks him to keep an eye on James' personal schedule and report back to her. Pete frequently bumps into Jack when he drops Ginny off, making things awkward for all three. At home, Pete gets angry with Ginny and accuses her of being too easygoing. At the office, Jack is upset because Ginny refuses to acknowledge their closeness and lies to Pete, telling him that Jack only drops her off because it's on the way, even though that isn't true. That afternoon, Jack surprises Ginny by taking her on a hot air balloon ride. While up in the air, Jack confesses his feelings for her. Ginny tries to reject him because she's 6 years older, but Jack passionately insists that his feelings are real. That night, when Ginny returns home, Pete is still in a sour mood. Frustrated, Ginny goes to the riverside to talk with Emma, who is also dealing with heartbreak. Although Kevin says he only loves Emma, she loses trust in what he says. Meanwhile, Ginny also has feelings for Jack but hesitates because she fears another heartbreak. Due to a serious mistake during editing, Pete gets suspended and transferred away from the central television station. Concerned about the flu spreading, Kate cleans the house carefully and reminds everyone to stay safe. At that moment, she sees James reading something on his phone and smiling, which causes her heart to skip a beat. James realizes he's been caught but quickly pretends nothing is wrong. It turns out he is still texting Anna, and he hurriedly deletes the conversation. That night, Kate checks James' phone but, of course, doesn't find anything suspicious. Emma invites Kate and Ginny to her ex-boyfriend Alex's cafe to catch up. Although Kevin promises Emma he will deal with Bella, he keeps delaying and tells her to be patient. Feeling manipulated, Emma decides to block his number. Kate shares her suspicions about James, but the other two dismiss her concerns, believing she is overthinking things since James is clearly a devoted husband and father. Bella shows up again at Miss Hill, and Emma refuses to serve her. However, Bella doesn't give up and creates a scene in the store, end up slapping Emma. Embarrassed, Emma considers quitting her job, but her manager advises her to take a break and think carefully. She has worked hard for many years, and personal issues shouldn't make her give up her career. A representative team from Beijing Park comes to meet James to thank him for the fireworks show and decides to sign more contracts with the company. Anna is also in the group. Ginny learns about the bad news regarding Pete's job. After being transferred, he shows no interest in working anymore. Although Ginny is still angry, she comforts him, urging him to be strong. That night, James takes Anna out to dinner to thank her, but he tells her not to contact him anymore. He apologizes if he has done anything inappropriate that could be misunderstood. He insists that he only has responsibilities toward his wife. However, Anna cleverly asks him if those words are meant for her or for himself. Taking advantage of the situation, Anna plays mind games, suggesting that James must live according to what his wife wants and suppress his true self. James, not wanting to argue with Anna anymore, pays for her meal and quickly leaves. When he returns home, he immediately heads to the shower, worried that Kate might smell Anna's perfume on him. However, Kate is sharp and notices his unusual haste, even though James lies, saying he had to take the representatives team from Beijing Park out for dinner and drank a lot. Last time at Miss Hill, Bella left her address when she paid, and after not hearing anything from Kevin, Emma decides to fly to Hong Kong. She goes to the address Bella had left. From a distance, Emma sees Kevin walking hand in hand with Bella, and in that moment, she loses all hope in Kevin. Ginny and Kate visit Emma, deeply concerned as Emma remains silent, not crying or speaking due to the depth of her pain. Kate bluntly tells Emma that she unknowingly became the third person in Kevin and Bella's relationship and that she needs to let go and move on with her life. While it's the truth, the words hurt Emma even more, and she'd push Ginny and Kate out. Before leaving, Kate firmly tells Emma that only she can love herself, so she must find the strength to get through this. When everyone leaves, Emma finally breaks down, overwhelmed by her pain. However, this emotional release helps her able to heal. Kate also takes Emma to the hair salon and her workout class, hoping these activities will bring Emma strength and joy, just as Emma begins to heal. Bella asks to meet up again. Bella reveals that Emma isn't the only woman Kevin has cheated on her with. Bella explains that Kevin always books trips and plane tickets in advance because he knows he always finds a new girl. There's an unspoken agreement between him and Bella. Once he gets bored with a girl, he leaves it to Bella to deal with them and make them leave him. To make matters worse, Emma learns that Kevin owns a house in Shanghai, but he has never invited her there. Instead, he always meets her at hotels. Bella even questions who is more miserable between the two of them. Emma can now move on, but she has been enduring Kevin's fickle nature for over 7 years. Kevin has disappeared again, likely because he's found yet another new girl. Emma, still confused and hurt, can't help but want to confront Kevin one last time. When they meet, Kevin remains unapologetic. He insists he can't leave Bella right away because of their shared assets and businesses. Instead of taking responsibility, he tries to convince Emma to accept being his side chick. Emma, furious, calls him out for his nonsense. But Kevin, dismissive, tells her that she owes everything to him, even the clothes she's wearing were bought by him. In an act of defiance, Emma begins stripping off the clothes to give them back. Kevin watches without stopping her. She hesitates when it comes to her underwear, but a kind waitress lends her some clothes to wear. Emma hands over everything Kevin bought for her, except the bag, which she proudly states she bought herself. Standing strong, Emma tells Kevin that even though she now has nothing, she would rather have nothing than share love with someone else. It's filthy, she says, walking away with her dignity intact. Emma, overwhelmed by heartbreak, heads to a bar and drinks. Kate and Ginny soon join her, and together they have a wild, drunken night. In the middle of it, Kate comes up with an idea to help Emma get a little revenge. She asks Dave to take the car Kevin had gifted Emma and park it directly in front of Kevin's own car without the key, then messes with both cars to make them stink. Kevin, of course, is furious when he discovers the scene the next day. A crowd gathers, pointing, laughing, and recording the entire incident, leaving Kevin humiliated and unable to figure out how to resolve the mess. The next morning, Emma wakes up and takes down all the photos of her and Kevin that were hanging on her wall so that she won't have to see his rat face again. Meanwhile, Anna decides to go all in on her pursuit of James. She resigns from her job at the Beijing Park and makes plans to move to Shanghai, committed to winning him over. After a while, Emma also decides to resign from Miss Hill. Though she tries her best to act like she's fine, deep down, she knows she's far from okay and needs to make a change. One day, Kate meets with a business partner and reminds James to stay home with Henry and not let him go outside because of the flu outbreak. However, Henry really wants to play outside, and James remembers Anna's words that he has to do what his wife wants and feels offended. So, he decides to take Henry out to play as he wishes. That night, they lie to Kate and say they stayed home, but the next morning, Henry is sick. Kate and James take him to the hospital, and during that Anna has arrived in Beijing and sends more selfies to James. James admits to Kate that Henry got sick because he took him outside to play soccer. Kate already knows but isn't angry. Instead, she's happy that James spent time with their son. Kate stays up all night to care for Henry, and he finally breaks his fever. However, when Henry draws, Kate notices he draw UU in his painting. When she asks, he says he saw it during the fireworks in Beijing. James tries to say he meant to write 00 but made a mistake, and Kate doesn't press him further. Still, Kate can't stop thinking about it, which makes her father worry something is wrong. However, he tells her not to worry, saying he is there for her no matter what. Later, shameless Anna shows up at James's company and sends him selfies. James goes downstairs to meet her, and she admits that she quit her job in Beijing to come here and pursue him. Kate gives Alex Emma's address, and he visits her while she is bedrotting at home. He brings food to cook and clean for her, promising to return if she still isn't feeling well. The next day, Emma goes to Alex's cafe, and he takes her grocery shopping for the store, telling her that doing these little tasks will help her feel more grounded. Meanwhile, Ginny gets caught up in a big drama. While checking a mall, she sees a couple yelling at a shoe store employees, claiming they sold them fake shoes. When the woman slaps the employee, Ginny rushes in to help, but it quickly turns into a full-on fight. Before she knows it, people are recording everything on their phones, and it looks like Ginny is the one beating up the couple. Now she's trending online, and her company's reputation is in trouble. To make matters worse, it turns out the shoes were indeed fake, and the crowd turns against Ginny. On the bus ride home, a woman spots Ginny and decides to stick gum in her hair. Jack tries to defend her, but everyone already pulls out their phones to film the scene. At home, things get even crazier when a package with a frog arrives for Ginny. Pete and Dave find it and get rid of it. Pete calls Ginny to warn her not to come home for a few days because someone knows where they live and might pull more stunts. That night, Ginny drinks too much and Jack takes her to stay at Kate's place. Meanwhile, James is moved to sleep with Henry. Bored, he checks Anna's social media and sees that she lost her wallet. James jumps into action and starts messaging her. After learning she doesn't have enough money for her hotel, he asks where she's staying and reminds her to lock her door. Because that's what friends do, right? The next day, Ginny wakes up feeling down. Kate and Emma take care of her, but Ginny notices Pete quickly packing her things. It seems like he wants to avoid the drama. At work, the company considers firing Ginny. Jack steps in and tells them to blame him for not properly checking the quality, which allowed the fake shoes to slip through and be sold in the shopping center. Ginny hears about the news and feels touched by Jack's support. She goes to the garage to see him. Ginny is worried about him, but Jack reassures her that his family is doing more than okay, so she doesn't need to worry. Ginny finally reveals why she is upset. She wanted to be Jack's girlfriend but now feels like she owes him, which makes her uncomfortable. Jack takes the chance to kiss her, and they officially become a couple. Emma and Alex grow closer, which even make the cafe staff getting jealous as she is feeling for Alex. Alex seizes the opportunity to confess his feelings for Emma, but she turns him down. That same day, Kate and her father take the father of James' friend back to his hometown. The old man doesn't want Kate to keep paying for his nursing homestay anymore. While they share an emotional farewell, James is preoccupied with Anna. James buys Anna a plane ticket back to Beijing, but she refuses to leave. She says she gave up everything to be near him. Although James doesn't show it. He's clearly pleased and agrees to let her stay in Shanghai for 2 more days, paying for her hotel in cash to avoid leaving any trace. Anna smiles, knowing she's close to getting him where she wants. Anna's flattery boosts James' confidence. That evening, he skips his usual juice and instead have noodles, even snapping back at Kate when she questions why he came home early and took a bath, telling her to mind her business. The next day, Kate tirelessly searches for distributors for her tea business, but they all reject her, as most are already tied to larger tea brands. Meanwhile, Emma works with a headhunting company to help her find a new job. Unfortunately, the job market is tough, and most of the available positions are entry-level sales roles with salaries much lower than her previous one, barely enough to cover her rent. Ginny still stays at Kate's house and feels guilty about it despite Kate tells her to not worry. She's still bombarded with hate messages from strangers, and even her parents have to stay at a relative's house. Ginny now has a blog where she writes about her experiences as a 30-year-old, divorced woman with no house, and now getting attacked online by strangers. Meanwhile, Pete is determined to seek justice for Ginny. Teaming up with Dave, he sets out to investigate the factory responsible for producing the fake shoes. Dave notices James smiling to himself while looking at his phone, quickly realizing that his boss is likely up to something shady. Dave casually remarks how much he admires James and Kate's relationship and starts trash talking about a friend who cheated on his wife. Feeling called out, James tells Dave to shut up. That evening, James takes out more cash, and when Kate questions why he needs more after already withdrawing some earlier, he lies, saying it's for a business dinner where the restaurant's card machine wasn't working. The next day, James uses that money to pay for Anna's hotel room for another week. Anna invites James to hang out in her hotel room, and he agrees. Just as he's settling in, and Anna is trying to make a move on him, James receives a call from Kate, asking him to pick her up. Ironically, she's at the same hotel after meeting a client. Panicking, James tries to slip out through the back but realizes there isn't a back exit. Thinking fast, he calls Kate to distract her and rushes out the front entrance, jumps into a taxi, and drives around the block before returning, pretending he's just arrived to pick her up. However, Kate still catches a whiff of sweet perfume lingering on him. Ginny's situation finally clears up. It turns out that the couple causing the commotion at the shoe store were part of a larger scheme producing and distributing fake shoes. Their scam involved purchasing authentic shoes from the mall, swapping them for counterfeit pairs, and then making false claims to demand refunds. Dave calls Ginny back home, where she finds Pete injured, having been beaten up by the gang involved in the counterfeit shoe ring. Dave tells her Pete had been investigating the case tirelessly for Ginny's sake, and his efforts uncovered the truth. Ginny, deeply moved, realizes how much Pete had been worried about her. Public opinion quickly shifts in Ginny's favor, and she's reinstated at her job. She wants Jack to return to work as well, but her boss tells her that Jack doesn't want to come back. Jack prefers dating her, and working together would make things too complicated for their new relationship. Ginny feels torn between Pete and Jack, as both are trying their hardest to win her over. Emma advises her to be honest about her feelings and avoid leading both of them on. Emma also shares her own struggles with money. The job offer she received from the headhunter has a salary so low that she can't afford rent, and unlike Ginny, Emma doesn't have family nearby to help. Ginny finds out that the house she wants to rent is now available. To thank Pete, she cooks him dinner, and he compliments her cooking non-stop. They reminisce about their early days together, when Pete was full of energy and passion, even though life and work were much tougher then. Pete also shares that his recent investigation on counterfeit goods got positive feedback, and he might get his old job back at the TV station. Pete then tries to rekindle their relationship, promising to change and be more responsible. But before he can say much, Ginny stops him, explaining that she's only there to collect the rest of her things and move into her new place. Pete is disappointed but respects her decision. That night, Ginny goes back to Kate's and opens up to her friends. She feels guilty for having feelings for both Pete and Jack, especially since both have made sacrifices for her. Ginny has always relied on others, first her parents, and then Pete after they got married. Kate encourages her to take this time, while she's single, to become independent and figure out who she truly is. Emma, on the other hand, decides to leave Shanghai after 8 years of hard work and struggle. She sells all her luxury items at a low price. Feeling sad, she goes to the riverside and reflects on her early days in the city, when she was filled with passion and big dreams. Despite all the effort she put in, she feels like she's leaving with nothing. Emma invites Kate and Ginny over for hot pot and surprises them by revealing her decision to leave. Both are shocked. Emma admits that the constant pressure has worn her out, and she wants to return home, saying goodbye to her closest friends. Ginny is heartbroken and cries, while Kate tries to be strong, urging Emma to reconsider such a big decision. But Emma explains that after 8 years, she has neither material success nor any emotional anchor to hold onto. Kate and Ginny refuse to believe this is the last time they'll see her, and try to cheer her up, joking that they'll wait for her to return to Shanghai. That night, Emma also says goodbye to Alex, who was once an important part of her life in the city. Emma returns to her hometown and is warmly welcomed by her family and neighbors. Even though she doesn't say much, her parents can sense that something went wrong in the city, but they're understanding and don't press her for details. They're determined to take good care of her and make her feel happy. They throw her a big party for her 30th birthday, which brings Emma a lot of joy. She can't help but think about how, in Shanghai, her birthdays were often overlooked because she was always working overtime. Now, surrounded by family and celebration, she feels truly appreciated. Emma also notices how much her mother has aged over the years she's been away, but her love for Emma has only grown. Her mom has saved every picture Emma posted online, using them to feel close to her and understand her life better. She even remembers every day Emma came home for visits, which makes Emma so emotional she bursts into tears. Feeling happy and comforted, Emma realizes how much she missed being home, where she's always welcomed and cared for in every small way, making everything feel just right. What's more, Emma, who once thought her hometown was rural, notices how much it has developed since she left. Meanwhile, Ginny's parents find out about her and Pete's divorce, thanks to the fake shoe scandal, which leaked information about Ginny to the neighborhood. Her parents come to see them, thinking that the divorce must have been caused by Pete's infidelity or their loss of the child. But when Ginny explains that the real reason was simply that they weren't compatible, her mother is shocked, thinking the explanation is too childish. She tries to push Ginny to reconcile with Pete, but Ginny firmly insists that their differences are too big. Ginny explains that while she's romantic, Pete is too rigid, and staying together would only bring more unhappiness. Pete prepares medicine and packs Ginny's things for her, which only deepens her sadness. He apologizes for not taking care of her the way he had promised, leaving her disappointed. Ginny holds back her tears, thanks Pete for everything, and forces a sad smile as they say their final goodbye. After she leaves, Pete breaks down and cries alone. Ginny moves into her new place and goes shopping for household items with Kate. It's only now that she realizes how difficult it is to set up a home, something she never had to think about before since Pete always handled it. Jack and Ginny officially start dating, and he's at her place more often. One day, while they're playing a VR game, Ginny's parents visit unexpectedly. They walk in to find Jack swinging his arms wildly with the VR headset, which immediately puts them off. Their dislike only grows when they learn that Ginny and Jack are now a couple and that Jack is 6 years younger than Ginny. Kate continues to travel around, promoting her tea brand, and she happens to run into Ms. Wang. Ms. Wang expresses how much she misses Kate and takes the opportunity to gossip about the other ladies in their old social group, saying they've received the karma Kate once predicted. However, Kate is no longer interested in that toxic circle. It turns out all the luxury and glamour those women flaunted were fake, a mere facade to earn respect and envy from others. Ms. Wang offers to use her connections to help Kate with her business, but Kate declines and excuses herself. Meanwhile, Ginny is living her romantic dream life with Jack. They spend an evening at a drive-in cinema, enjoying in the kind of movie-like romance she always wanted. However, things aren't as perfect as Ginny imagined. While she's exhausted and just wants to sleep, Jack, full of youthful energy, is already planning their next outing. A few hours later, back in Emma's hometown, her parents waste no time arranging a blind date for her with Charles, whom they consider an elite catch in the area. The next day, Emma meets Charles, who discreetly invites her for a conversation aboard a boat on the local canal. Charles, a respected local official, carries himself with great dignity and is well loved by the community. He takes Emma for a walk around town, and her parents are thrilled, believing this public outing means Charles is genuinely interested in her. They insist he's the perfect match for Emma, but she brushes it off without much interest. James, on the other hand, still cares for Anna. When he has free time, he calls the hotel to check on her situation. Charles, seemingly smitten with Emma, invites her out again the next day for a meal and more time together. Emma finds Charles more interesting than she initially thought. He had previously lived in the city, so he understands how people from urban areas can look down on small-town life. He explains that city folks often chase after material things without truly knowing what they want, while people in the countryside focus on genuine happiness. Emma also starts to see why Charles is so respected by the locals. He is generous and always willing to help others. However, when they decide to go watch a movie, Emma is surprised when Charles collects free tickets to a silly comedy from a familiar theater owner. Charles explains that this exchange gives the theater owner a reason to dine at his mother's restaurant, creating a cycle of mutual favors that preserves close-knit relationships, a luxury rarely found in city life. Meanwhile, James pays a visit to Kate's father as she had asked him to, bringing along some gifts. Kate's father subtly inquires about whether Kate's busy schedule affects her home life. Sensing the hidden question, James cleverly assures him that he supports Kate and is willing to shoulder his responsibilities as her husband. That evening, Kate has to work late with a friend who has experience in marketing, and she tells James she'll be staying at her friend's place overnight. Left with free time, James tries to arrange a soccer match with his friends, but they are all busy. Bored and restless, he decides to call the hotel where Anna is staying to check on her. The receptionist informs him that Anna is still there and even left a message for him. Anna invites James to a bar where she has found a job as a lounge singer. Seeing her on stage, singing with a guitar, James once again falls under her spell. After the performance, James takes Anna back to the hotel, and this time, he admits that he has feelings for her but can't continue because of his family. Hurt by his confession, Anna storms off and goes to drink away her frustration. That night, Kate works with her friend Irene and video calls Emma to plan a strategy for promoting her tea brand through online influencers. As Emma had experience working with them during her time at Miss Hill. Watching the fast-paced attitude of the meeting, Emma is reminded of her own days at Miss Hill and the energy of her past work life, the job done faster than expected, and even though Irene asks Kate to stay the night, Kate, eager to return home, declines and decides to leave. Meanwhile, Anna, heavily intoxicated, falls asleep on a park bench. A sleazy man approaches her with bad intentions, but James shows up just in time and sends him away. He takes Anna back to her hotel room and looks after her. However, while tending to her, James receives a call from Kate, who has returned home and finds he isn't there. James runs into the bathroom to answer the call, lying that he is out having dinner with an old colleague and isn't sure when he'll be back. As he prepares to leave, Anna clings to him, pleading with James to stay the night. She points out that no matter how hard he tries, he can't hide his feelings for her. Ultimately, the two give in to temptation, and James sneaks back home early the next morning. Kate has stayed up all night waiting for James, so she immediately notices when he returns. Despite knowing he has just come home, she remains calm and caring, even making breakfast for him. Kate tells James about the marketing project for her tea brand, which will require over $25,000 in funding. James, as a guilty cheater, immediately agrees to cover the costs without hesitation. Charles quickly arranges an office job for Emma in his department, putting her in an awkward position, although her parents couldn't be happier. They see everything falling perfectly into place with Charles and Emma, and they're already pushing for a wedding. But Emma still feels something isn't right. In search of clarity, Emma goes to her usual hair salon and talks with the elderly barber she's known for years. He's never married himself and tells her, "Marry when it feels right for you, not just because others expect it." Though, he says that Charles is a good man to settle down with, and meanwhile, Pete hits rock bottom, losing both his job and Ginny. His brother Dave tries to lift his spirits, telling him everyone fails at some point, and it's only hitting him hard because life's always been smooth sailing up until now. Pete, however, is in no mood for pep talks and sends Dave away. Desperate, Dave calls Ginny, hoping she might be able to get through to Pete. When Ginny returns to see him, she hears from Pete's colleagues that he's completely given up, not even caring about getting returned at the station. When she finally confronts Pete, he's a mess. He tells her to leave him be. Ginny tries to snap him out of it, reminding him of his hard-working mother back in the countryside. Ginny also cooks him a meal and insists he pull himself together and return to work the next day. It works. The following day, Pete goes back to the TV station, but instead of asking for his old editor position, he requests to work as a field reporter. His boss agrees to consider it. While this is happening, Ginny starts seeing problem with Jack, realizing he has no real ambition, living off his parents' money instead of finding a job. Jack tells her he wants to start a car repair garage, but Ginny isn't convinced. Meanwhile, Kate's big influencer marketing campaign doesn't work out as planned. Most of the influencers have been using fake engagement and bots, so her tea brand isn't getting the genuine attention they had hoped for, meaning the $25,000 investment essentially went down the drain. James uses this failure as an excuse to tell Kate to shut down the tea factory, claiming that his fireworks business is now taking on losses because of her project. Furious, Kate snaps back, reminding him that she contributed a lot to the fireworks company's success, too. She declares she'll never ask James for another dime to fund her tea factory and will find her own way from now on.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more videos like this.
Alex offers to display Kate's tea in his coffee shop, but Kate notices that customers rarely want to try her products. Alex encourages her, saying her tea is really good and that she should believe in it. Emma starts working as an office clerk at the local committee. On her first day, Charles picks her up for work, which draws a lot of attention. Emma quickly realizes that everyone, including Charles, assumes they are a couple and even talking about marriage. At the office, people treat Emma like Charles's fiancée, acting overly nice or sizing her up, which makes her uncomfortable. Instead of assigning her any real tasks, they keep talking about her and Charles' relationship. Meanwhile, Ginny is busy with work, but Jack keeps calling her asking to hang out, which she finds annoying. Emma shares her frustrations with her parents, explaining how everyone at work thinks she got the job because she's Charles's fiancée. But Emma's parents don't see the issue, pushing her to settle down with Charles instead. James continues his affair with Anna, and after spending the day with her, he returns home to find Kate assembling a table. Feeling guilty, James offers to help, but Kate reminds him that she's always the one who assembles the furniture and that he only talks without following through. James apologizes for his behavior and promises to support Kate with her tea business. That night, Emma calls Kate and Ginny to vent about how, at first, life in the countryside felt warm and comforting, but now it suffocates her. Everywhere she goes, people are watching, gossiping, and pressuring her. The next day, to avoid fueling rumors that she got her job because she's Charles's girlfriend, Emma dresses casually for work. However, she still can't escape the endless chatter about her and Charles getting married. Charles assigns Emma the task of organizing a reception for the CEO of a large corporation. Meanwhile, James, wanting to keep things convenient for his affair, rents Anna an apartment near his office, paying the rent for an entire year up front. Unlike Kate, who is independent and strong-willed, Anna lets James assemble her furniture while showering him with praise, calling him talented and strong, which boosts his ego to the new level. The reception goes smoothly, and the CEO turns out to be a business partner of Kevin's, someone Emma had met before. He recognizes her and strikes up a conversation. During their chat, he mentions that he has recently acquired Miss Hill and offers Emma a chance to return to work with them if she's interested. Meanwhile, Dave tells their mother about Pete's situation, making her very worried. To calm her down, Pete decides to visit home for a while. However, cunning Dave uses this opportunity to meet with Ginny. When Jack arrives to pick Ginny up from work, he's frustrated when she chooses to leave with Dave to discuss Pete's situation instead of going home with him. Dave explains to Ginny that Pete is so depressed that he's considering moving back to their hometown forever and working for the local news station. This leaves Ginny feeling deeply heartbroken and guilty. Through Dave, Ginny finally understands that Pete has always quietly sacrificed himself to take care of her. Because he never shows it, she misunderstands him. Ginny shares her feelings with Kate, but Kate tells her that the past is the past, and Ginny should stop overthinking and enjoy her life as a single woman. Ginny writes all her feelings in her blog. Jack reads them and starts to feel worried. Meanwhile, Kate faces a serious problem. Her tea farm is badly damaged by frost, so she has to rush over to handle it. Most of the tea plants are frozen and need a lot of fuel to warm them up, which costs a lot of money. James has to go to the fireworks factory to destroy some dangerous blue fireworks that could explode. Anna follows him to the airport and asks to join him, pretending to be his assistant named Yu. The factory director has emailed Yu many times but has never met her, so he doesn't suspect anything. That night, instead of destroying the fireworks, James decides to launch them for Anna to see. Anna praises the blue fireworks, saying it's a shame to destroy something so beautiful, which makes James feel good about himself. He then decides not only to keep the fireworks but to make even more. At the tea farm, Kate calls James to check if all the fireworks has been destroyed. He confirms he did, but when she sees the launch equipment nearby, she becomes suspicious. After thinking all night, Kate decides not to ask James for money to buy fuel for the tea farm. Instead, she calls her dad for help. He agrees right away to help her using his saving, but Kate's dad worries more about Kate and James' relationship due to the fact she doesn't want to ask her husband for support. Ginny passes her driving test. Jack comes to pick her up, and they make up. To celebrate Ginny getting her driver's license, Jack takes her on a trip, making her very happy. However, Dave doesn't leave Ginny alone. He calls her again to tell her that Pete has boarded a plane back to their hometown, which makes Ginny feel guilty again. That evening, after taking Ginny out to dinner, Jack brings her back to the hotel. When he tries to get more intimate, Ginny refuses and runs into the bathroom. Inside, she finds her lost wedding ring in the pocket of her jeans, and guilt rushes back to her. Ginny decides to leave the hotel and return to Shanghai, leave a sad Jack behind. As she steps outside, a car pretending to be a taxi invites Ginny to get in. After a while, she realizes the driver is a bad person when he takes a turn onto a strange road. Ginny opens the door while the car is still moving and jumps out, hiding in some bushes to escape. The driver searches for her a while but eventually drives away. However, it's already midnight, and Ginny has no idea where she is since they are on an island, and her phone can't get a 4G signal. In her panic, Ginny decides to call Pete for help. Pete immediately comes to the rescue and manages to find Ginny, bringing her back home. He had done a report in that area before, so he knows the island's terrain well. Ginny injures her hand when she jumps from the car, and Pete takes care of her injury. As he tends to her, he notices that Ginny is wearing her wedding ring. Emma's grandfather falls seriously ill, so her parents have to return to her dad's hometown to visit him. At the office, Charles notices Emma's distraction and asks her what's wrong. At first, Emma finds it annoying, but she changes her mind when Charles offers to help if anything happens with her grandfather. He tells her to stop being too independent and to ask for help whenever she needs it. Meanwhile, Kate finally resolves the frost issue at her tea farm and comes up with a new idea to promote her tea. She returns to Shanghai late at night, feeling exhausted when she arrives home. However, James doesn't seem to care that she's hungry and tired. He just sits at his desk chatting like it's no big deal. That night, Kate calls her sisterhood to discuss her idea. She wants to put a QR code on the tea boxes so customers can adopt a tea plant and track its growth directly. The other two like the idea and encourage her to start it. The next day, Kate wants to visit the fireworks company to check on the work situation, which makes James feel nervous. At the company, the fireworks factory manager calls James, but he's busy, so Kate answers the phone. She asks about the disposal of the blue fireworks, but the manager, having been warned by James beforehand, lies to Kate and says they've been completely destroyed. James acts nervously around her, fearing that she discover his dirty secret. Especially when he realizes she notices that the dash cam in their car has suddenly switched to an auto-delete mode after 48 hours. James goes to see Anna to relieve some stress. That night, he returns home late, just as Kate arrives at the building. To avoid getting caught, he takes the stairs to get home first and pretends to be playing with Henry. James is too scared to visit Anna as often as he did before, which makes her feel frustrated. That evening, he gives Kate compliments and fake promises to make her believe him. He even blames Dave for changing the settings on the dashcam. Meanwhile, Emma's parents bring her grandfather back home. They find out he is not sick but has been mistreated by Emma's uncle's family. Even though Emma's dad has sent them money every month to take care of him, they want to make him sick so they can get a big amount of money for his funeral. Emma's dad gets so upset that he faints. Emma's mom and a neighbor take him to the hospital while Emma stays home with her grandfather. Thanks to Charles, Emma's dad gets better care and can come home that night. Emma's mom likes Charles more now, and he visits their house often. During dinner with their neighbors, Emma's mom thanks everyone, especially Charles, which makes Emma feel like she has to love and marry him out of gratitude. After being turned down on the island, Jack tries again and confesses his feeling to Ginny in her office with his friends as help. He tells her he has opened a motorcycle repair shop and gives her the keys. Jack wants to give Ginny a new pair of rings to replace her wedding ring. Everyone admires his effort and cheers for Ginny to say yes, but she feels uncomfortable and pulls Jack aside to talk. After thinking, Ginny breaks up with Jack. She tells him she thinks she only likes him, not loves him. She feels bad about their relationship and realizes she doesn't know what she wants in a husband. Now, instead of romance, she wants stability and maturity. Jack calls her out, saying her confusion comes from Dave always talking about his brother Pete and making her change her mind. When Ginny insists on breaking up, Jack leaves and throws the ring box out the window. A few days later, Ginny gets sick. Jack comes by to return her house keys. He's no longer angry with her and admits that he was too impulsive and delusional about their relationship. Jack also confesses that he had read the novel on her blog, which is why he planned everything perfectly. Although Jack still loves Ginny, he doesn't want to make things awkward for her, so he decides to leave. Meanwhile, Anna is losing her mind after not seeing James for days, goes to the building where James and Kate live. Seeing James happily playing with Kate and Henry only makes her more jealous. James books a trip to Tokyo for the whole family, but when an issue comes up at the tea farm, Kate insists on going there to resolve it and oversee things herself. James feels disappointed that his wife prioritizes work over spending time with him. The next day, Kate and Ginny surprise Emma by driving to her town and inviting her to spend a few days working on Kate's tea farm. Emma is taken aback but agrees right away. The three women head to the village, where they help with tea production and enjoy the peaceful countryside life. Kate's idea of using QR codes to promote her tea turns out to be a hit, and customers start lining up at Alex's cafe to buy it. With Kate away, James resumes his affair with Anna. When they are close to his house, Anna begs to come up and see his place, but James isn't that dumb. He says no to her and uses the excuse that Henry and the housekeeper are still home. That evening, the girls have hot pot again. During the meal, Emma confesses that she wants to return to Shanghai, which makes Kate and Ginny very happy. Just then, the village chief brings in 3 cups of bubble tea. Kate reveals that the bubble tea is a special gift for Ginny from someone special, and Emma and Kate are just benefiting from it. Kate adds that this special someone is waiting for Ginny at the village gate. Ginny rushes outside and finds Pete sitting next to a camper, cutting food. It turns out all the hot pot ingredients they had been eating were prepared by Pete. Knowing Ginny was visiting with Kate, Pete took the opportunity to come and see her. The next morning, Ginny decides to go on a picnic with Pete, while Kate lends Emma her car to drive home. It turns out Pete's plan was once again orchestrated by Dave, who had carefully suggested ideal picnic spots for his brother. As they set off, Ginny insists on using Google Maps to guide Pete, but due to a small mistake, they miss a turn and end up having to drive a long way to the next one. Because of the delay, Ginny suggests staying overnight at a hotel, which throws Pete into a panic since it wasn't part of his plan. When Emma gets home, she decides to submit her resignation from the town committee. Charles is upset by her decision. When he finds out that she wants to move back to Shanghai, he tells her that life would be much easier and more comfortable if she stayed here with him. He warns that even if she manages to survive the competition in Shanghai, she'll only be struggling day by day without ever finding true stability. Emma thanks him for his concern but stays firm in her decision to live the way she wants. Saying goodbye to her parents is even harder. They don't say much, but it's clear they're sad about their only daughter leaving again. Emma's father takes out the savings he had planned to give her as a wedding gift and gives it to her. Her mother says she had hoped this time their family would stay together and look after each other, but Emma has made up her mind. As Emma leaves, her parents sit in their now empty house, crying. By the time she reaches the gate, Emma is crying too. Emma walks past the local barbershop and stops to say goodbye to the barber. The old man wishes her luck on her new journey. Kate grabs Emma from the airport and takes her to Ginny's place. The two had been dying for Emma to return to Shanghai, so Ginny has already bought all the essentials for Emma to move right in. Later, Kate and James head back home. After not seeing James for several days, desperate Anna decides to get a job as the receptionist in their building. She cheerfully introduces herself to Kate, while James breaks into a cold sweat when he realizes Anna is crazier than he thought. While Kate is in the shower, James sneaks downstairs to confront Anna. She shamelessly tells him she's not going anywhere and that she wants to stay close to him. Now James really regrets his choices, but at this point, the damage is done. That afternoon, James storms into Anna's apartment, pack her things and drive her to the airport to ship her back to Beijing for good. Meanwhile, at the office, Kate reviews some papers and stumbles upon a contract for ordering more blue fireworks that James had promised to destroy. She immediately calls James back to the office. When he arrives, Kate angrily accuses him of lying. Not only did he not get rid of the blue fireworks, but now he's placing more orders for them, putting their company at serious risk. James snaps back, claiming Kate doesn't understand art, which is why she doesn't see the genius in his blue fireworks. Oh, and by the way, he reminds her that his fireworks company has been covering for her tea business losses. Leaving Kate even more hurt by his words, Emma decides to call the CEO Mr. Wei and ask to meet him to discuss the work opportunities he had previously mentioned. She shows up, but Mr. Wei is busy meeting with business partners. After waiting for 2 hours, his assistant informs Emma that Mr. Wei won't be able to see her that day and tells she to go home. The next day, Mr. Wei schedules another meeting with Emma. He tells her that he will give her a challenging task to complete in 3 months. If she succeeds, he will appoint her as the store manager of Miss Hill, but if she fails, Emma will have to become his personal assistant and will work like a donkey. Emma agrees to the challenge. Meanwhile, Pete and Ginny deviate from the route that Dave had planned for them. Despite this, they still enjoy the trip, feeling that the unplanned trip made the experience more authentic. During the journey, Pete gives Ginny a necklace she had liked for a long time. He tells her that he has spent a lot of time reflecting on things and is determined to change and do whatever it takes to make her happy. Kate's still not speaking to James. That night, he finds Anna still working as the receptionist. He's furious and pulls her aside. She proudly shows him a tattoo of the blue firework on her chest, saying she'll never leave him. That night, while lying in bed, James tells Kate he's sorry. Kate says she's mostly upset because he lied to her. She asks if there's anything else he's hiding, and James swears it was the first and last time. Finally, Kate forgives him. The next day, Ginny and Pete go to an aquarium. Ginny surprises Pete by dressing up as a mermaid and diving into the tank. She jokingly asks Pete to adopt her as a fish, his favorite animal. Pete looks confused at first but then realizes she's actually proposing to him. Emma starts her first day at one of Mr. Way's companies, working in the business department as a debt collector. At first, her boss Jenny seems a bit cocky, but she softens up when she sees how nice Emma is. Jenny introduces Emma to their manager, Frank. Frank invites everyone out for dinner to welcome Emma. He hears she was hired through the CEO's office and assumes she's there to keep an eye on him for Mr. Way. At dinner, Frank and the other guys pressure Emma to drink a lot as part of her welcome. Emma keeps up with the drinks, but Frank still tries to get her to reveal her connection to Mr. Way by asking for gift ideas for him. Smart Emma replies that if she really knew Mr. Way, she wouldn't be stuck in a tough job like debt collecting. Meanwhile, Jenny gets drunk, and one of the male colleagues starts bothering her. Emma jumps in to help, and Jenny is grateful. Emma is already making friends on her first day. At the same time, Anna's tricks are getting creepier. She shows up at Kate's house pretending to collect feedback from residents just to get inside. She even uses this excuse to get Kate's contact info. Later that day, Kate receives a package of wet wipes, the same brand her family always uses, but she knows for sure she didn't order them. James, however, knows exactly who sent them, Anna. Trying to remind him that she knows all the little details about their lives, the next day, James confronts Anna again. She breaks down in tears, saying he was her first love, making James feel even guiltier. He's too distracted to focus at work and ends up having a mental breakdown while the fireworks factory manager keeps calling, needing his help with some packaging issues. Anna, now stalking Kate's social media, sees posts about Kate's son, Henry. She decides to take it further by accidentally running into Kate and Henry at the playground. Kate, being friendly, doesn't think much of it at first, but when Anna pulls out a Buzz Lightyear keychain, the same one Kate found in James' drawer, Kate starts having doubts all over again. After Ginny's sweet proposal, Pete drives them in their camper overnight to the city hall to get married again. And they get another parking ticket. At work, Jenny is super helpful in getting Emma up to speed, but it doesn't take long before they realize Frank has been deliberately assigning Emma the hardest debt collecting cases. He's clearly trying to make her life difficult, but Emma's determined to push through. Worried that his affair is about to be uncovered, James skips work and heads to the riverbank to scream out his frustration. Meanwhile, the fireworks factory manager, desperate for help, calls Kate. She rushes to the office and spends the entire day sorting out the packaging issue. Grateful for her help, the manager finally admits that he lied for James about the blue fireworks Kate already knew about, so she doesn't blame him. But when she asks her assistant, Yu, to take him home, the manager seems confused and reveals that this Yu isn't the same one he met with James. At that moment, Kate's worst fears are confirmed. James has been cheating on her. Emma's first task is collecting a debt from a man who's been hiding out in a building for days. When she arrives, she finds a crowd of others there to collect their debts, too. Emma decides to wait until nightfall, when everyone leaves. Finally, she spots the man sneaking out the back to grab some noodles. She follows him, but he ducks back into the building and locks the door just before she can reach him. On her way home, Emma sees James hand in hand with Anna by the river. She snaps a photo but hesitates to send it to Kate because she doesn't want Kate to get hurt. The next day, Emma is back at the building, determined to catch the debtor. Meanwhile, Kate, now 80% sure of James' betrayal, decides to keep quiet for now since her father has suddenly fallen ill. She brings him home to take care of him for a few days. That evening, Emma finally sees the debtor sneaking out again, this time with a small child he claims is his son. Feeling sorry for the dad and his kid, Emma pays for their noodles. The man explains that he's trying to sell his house and promises to pay his debts as soon as the house is sold. Later that night, Kate calmly confronts James. He tries to lie, claiming the fireworks manager simply mistook his assistant, Yu, for a client named Yu. Kate knows he's lying but also wants to know who has been fueling James' obsession with the blue fireworks. Later, in the living room, Kate's father, who is clueless about their conversation in the bathroom, looks through the family photo album and thanks James for making his daughter, who lost her mother at a young age, happy again. His words hit James hard, leaving him feeling completely ashamed. Emma checks and confirms that the debtor's house is indeed for sale online, which makes her feel relieved that she'll receive the money next month as promised. However, Jenny informs her that since the debt is overdue, the case will go to court at the end of the month, meaning Emma won't get credit for collecting the debt. That evening, Emma goes to meet the debtor and tells him about the court situation. She tells him to try to pay at least 20% of what he owes, and he assures her he'll figure something out. The next day, on her day off, Emma meets with Alex and Ginny to get their opinions on the photo she took of James by the river. Ginny is shocked and furious, while Alex thinks Emma shouldn't send the photo to Kate since it's a personal matter that might put Kate in a difficult position. Ginny, not satisfied, goes to ask Pete, who agrees with Alex and advises Ginny not to tell Kate. The following day, Anna shows up at Kate's house again under the pretense of needing her to sign a survey. While handing Kate a pen, Anna intentionally reveals a band-aid with a train design, the same type of band-aid Kate usually buys for Henry. Anna looks at Kate with a sly expression before leaving, and Kate begins to piece everything together. Slowly realizing the truth, Emma and Ginny decide to meet with Kate. As they enter the building, Emma spots Anna and realizes she's the one who was with James by the river. When they walk into the apartment, they find Kate sitting silently. Just as they're about to speak, Kate says she already knows what's going on. Later that afternoon, the three women follow Anna home from work. James arrives shortly after, and Ginny and Emma prepare to confront them. However, Kate doesn't want to go. She's too heartbroken and doesn't want to witness her husband's betrayal firsthand. She asks to be taken home, where she arranges for Henry to stay at Ginny's for a few days and tells the housekeeper to take a break as well. After that, Kate texts James, telling him to come home to talk. Meanwhile, James is at Anna's begging her to leave him and his family alone, but she doesn't want to. He rushes home and lies, saying he just got back from the office. Kate cuts to the chase and tells him she saw him enter Anna's building. He immediately confesses everything and begs for her forgiveness. Kate is heartbroken, realizing that her husband has been cheating on her for so long. James claims he's been regretful and hasn't felt well for days since his affair. He asks Kate to forgive him and hugs her, but Kate pushes him away and tells him all she feels is disgust. While this is happening, Ginny and Pete play the role of supportive parents, caring for Henry. They worry about Kate but can't help but find joy in Henry's cuteness. Crushed, Kate steps outside, and Emma comes to pick her up and take her back to her place. Kate is devastated and tries to drink her pain away. Emma doesn't know what else to do. The next day at work, Frank calls Emma into his office and scolds her for not collecting any debts yet. Emma explains that one debtor is trying to sell his house and promises he'll pay soon. Frank gives her 10 days to get some results, or she'll lose her job. Feeling the pressure, Emma calls the debtor, demanding he pay up right away. He starts complaining about how poor he is, saying he only saved $4,000 so far. Then, he asks Emma to lend him $10,000 so he can pay the company in full, and it would benefit both of them. Desperate to finish the task and feeling sorry for him, Emma sends him the amount, which is most of her savings. But as soon as she transfers the money, he blocks her number and vanishes. Realizing she's been scammed, Emma and Jenny rush to the debtor's building, where they find other angry debt collectors. They learn that the debtor has run away and had divorced his wife to split and hide their money. Emma now realizes that many of the people pretending to be debt collectors were hired by the debtor's wife to make it seem like he couldn't escape. Emma is furious that she was fooled. At that moment, Mr. Way calls and asks Emma to meet with him. Meanwhile, Kate, after a day of dealing with her pain, finally comes home. She calmly tells James she wants a divorce. She will have the custody of Henry and keeps the tea company, while James can have the fireworks company. They will sell the house and split the money. As she talks, she begins packing things. James begs her to reconsider but quickly turns the blame on her, asking why she always has to be so strong and in control. He complains that she's been making all the decisions, even at work, and that even though he's the director, he feels like he's always second to her. Kate finds James's words ridiculous. None of them are valid reasons for his affair. She realizes he hasn't been happy with her for years. Even without Anna, they wouldn't have been happy together. Kate tries to support her husband for the sake of their family's future, but he secretly resents her for it. They need to divorce to set each other free. It turns out that Kate has been packing James's things this whole time. She hands him the suitcase and tells him to leave. James walks away sadly, and outside, Anna is waiting for him, wanting him to come home with her. However, James firmly tells her he won't get a divorce, leaving her behind as he hops into a taxi, causing Anna to break down in tears. Meanwhile, Emma meets with Mr. Way. He has heard about her struggles with debt collection and how she got scammed out of her money. Emma feels frustrated that she was put in this position, but Mr. Wei explains that he also started out as a debt collector. Previously, Emma worked in sales, dealing with wealthy clients. Now, as a debt collector, she would encounter a wider range of people, and Mr. Wei believes this experience will help her understand human behavior better. He thought Emma had potential, but he didn't expect her to fail so soon. Emma asks him for another chance to prove herself. The next day, Emma regains her confidence and goes back to debt collecting. She sets up at a company, determined to stay there until she gets what she needs. The manager is left feeling both frustrated as he finally gives her the director's address. Emma goes to meet the director of the company she's been chasing down for debt repayment, only to discover that the director is a young, carefree girl. It turns out she only holds the position because she's the daughter of the company's chairman and couldn't care less about the company being taken to court. Desperate, Emma pleads with her to pay the debt and promises she'll do anything in return. Meanwhile, Kate picks up Henry from preschool. And he innocently tells her that Anna visited him, saying Henry's dad is going to have a new family. Kate is furious. Anna has now crossed the line by manipulating her child. Kate confronts Anna, even though she initially didn't want to deal with her, as she believed James was the one truly at fault for betraying her. To Kate, Anna was just the other woman, and if it wasn't Anna, it would have been someone else. But now that Anna is trying to harm Henry, it's a different story. Anna claims she loves James and is willing to wait for him. She even mentions that James only hesitates to divorce because of Henry, provokes Kate, and says that if Henry weren't in the picture, things might be different. This enrages Kate, and she slaps Anna. Kate tells Anna that she's cancelled her lease and orders her to leave. Then, Kate calls James. At first, he thinks she's forgiven him, but she's only calling to make him deal with the mess he created. She's furious that she always has to clean up after him, and now, even his affair is something she's forced to handle. Want to make sure Anna leaves for good, Kate and James arrange to meet with her one last time, face to face, to ensure that Anna returns to Beijing and leave them alone. Anna accuses Kate of manipulating James to leave her. James insists that he only loves Kate. This is when Anna turns her attack on Kate, claiming she doesn't understand her own husband, and restricts him from being himself, whether it's about not letting him eat what he wants, stopping him from making blue fireworks, or keeping him from playing soccer. Anna shows Kate pictures of meals shared between her and James, saying each photo represents a day they spent together. Kate, however, just scoffs. Anna may think she's won, but she doesn't realize that Kate stopped James from eating big dinners because, at just over 30, he already had moderate fatty liver disease. While James and Anna were indulging, Kate was the one worrying about his health, even fasting alongside him every night. Kate then tells Anna that if she wanted to get calculative, all those meals, hotel stays, and the rent for Anna's apartment were paid for with their joint money. Kate could demand her to pay it back, but Anna is left speechless, her face turning red with anger. She then reveals a tattoo of a blue firework on her chest, as a final insult to Kate. This shatters Kate once again. James had always claimed that his fireworks and his love were dedicated to her, but now she sees it was all a lie. Broken, Kate returns home, locking herself in the bathroom and drowning her sorrows in alcohol. Emma and Ginny, worried, stand outside trying to comfort her, reminding her she's done everything she could. After Kate passes out drunk, Emma and Ginny help her into bed. Meanwhile, Emma gets an unexpected call from Nicole, the young director. Nicole had crashed her car into the curb, blown a tire, and demanded Emma come to change it and take her to the hospital. Though annoyed by the unreasonable request, Emma decides to help. After Nicole gets her neck braced at the hospital, she insists that Emma take her to karaoke with friends and drive her home after that. To win over Nicole and hope she'll repay her debt sooner, Emma agrees to all her demands. She sits around, waiting in the karaoke bar while Nicole enjoys her night. The next day, Ginny receives an exciting offer from a publisher interested in turning her blog novel into a book, thanks to its positive feedback. Even better, a film studio offers $200,000 for the movie rights. As the 10-day deadline arrives, Frank yells at Emma, ready to fire her. Just then, Nicole walks in, saying she was planning to come by and pay her debt but threatens to change her mind if Emma is fired. Frank, seeing this, has no choice but to back down. Not only that, Nicole insists that Emma handle all future contracts with her company, saving Emma's job. Grateful, Emma thanks Nicole and tells her to come to her for any future problems. That evening, Ginny shares the news about her novel with Pete and asks for his permission to publish it, as many of the details are based on him. Pete is surprised by his wife's hidden talent and stays up late reading the entire novel. The next day, he tells Ginny how much he enjoyed it and encourages her to publish it, saying he understands a lot more about their relationship after reading it. The following morning, little Henry wakes Kate up. Sensing that his parents might be heading toward a divorce, he tells her that if they do, he'll go live with his dad because he knows how much his mom loves him and won't leave his dad. Henry's innocent words ache in Kate's heart. Unsure of what to do, she turns to her father for guidance. He calls James over, and filled with guilt, James kneels down and apologizes. At first, Kate's father is furious and demands that James divorce his daughter immediately. But James begs him, using the reason that Henry will grow up without the full love of both parents. Hearing this, Kate's father reflects on how his own daughter grew up without a mother and softens. Meanwhile, after receiving the book royalties, Ginny decides to spend. The first thing she does is fix their stuck door and upgrade it with an electronic lock. Then, she takes Pete shopping, buying everything she has wanted for a long time. Later, Kate's father arranges to meet with Anna. He speaks to her gently, surprising her. He acknowledges her feelings for James but points out that she has put them in the wrong person. As a father himself, he shares how heartbroken Anna's own parents would be if they knew the pain she is enduring. His kindness somehow touches Anna. Emma visits another client to collect a debt and discovers they are stuck with a lot of defective products and don't want to pay for them. Emma wants to take the products back for inspection, but they refuse. Frustrated, she takes photos of the items and goes to the technical department. The person in charge confirms there are no defects, but Emma thinks this is odd. Meanwhile, after hearing that Ginny received a large sum of money, Dave asks her for some. Ginny happily transfers him immediately. Pete is worried about Ginny. He thinks she should be more careful with her spending. She just got the book money and has already splurged on various things. Emma meets Nicole and gives her a birthday gift bought with her small commission. Although Nicole pretends not to like it, she is secretly pleased. Dave, playing matchmaker again, tells Kate that James is a good husband who loves his family. He suggests that James may have strayed because Kate has been busy with the tea company and hasn't given him enough attention. Dave adds that James often played games for a few minutes on his way home to improve his mood before seeing Kate and Henry. After what Dave says, Kate starts to blame herself. She admits to Emma that she was wrong for not letting James share the burden and for always handling everything herself. She still has feelings for him and feels embarrassed, but Emma reassures her that only Kate knows what they've been through, and no one else can judge. The next day, Ginny arrives with food to celebrate her book signing. She tells Kate that she's rich now and reassures her not to worry because she's there for her. With good friends like Ginny and Emma around, Kate feels much better. Emma goes back to the client's warehouse to ask more questions. This time, the manager admits that a former employee from Emma's company faked an order. That employee promised the client that they would fulfill their targets, and once the company settled the accounts, they could return the products. However, after finishing the task, the employee disappeared, leaving the manager confused about how to handle the situation. Now, this issue falls on the shoulders of debt collectors like Emma. Emma brings the issue about the fake orders to Jenny. Jenny warns her not to investigate further because she thinks that Frank, the sales director, might be behind the scheme. Just as Jenny finishes her warning, Frank calls Emma into his office. He tries to fire her under the pretext that she's not fit for the job. Emma quickly realizes that Frank wants to get rid of her to cover up the fake orders, so she confronts him directly. She accused him of allowing a former employee to create fraudulent orders. She threatens to report him to the higher-ups. Angry Frank dares her to report him, yelling and threatening her, saying no one would believe her. Despite being scared, Emma stands her ground. She knows she's in the right, and Frank is just a corrupt man trying to intimidate her into silence. Emma calmly tells him that she sacrificed everything to be back to Shanghai, and since her contract is for 3 months, she will stay for those 3 months and take him down. After leaving Frank's office, Emma feels shaky but reassures herself to stay strong and push forward. Meanwhile, Ginny makes a surprising decision to quit her job and focus on writing full-time, leaving Pete in shock. Despite the suddenness of it all, Pete supports her decision. On the other side, Anna texts James saying she's about to fly back to Beijing and wants him to come see her the last time. To her surprise, it's not James who shows up at the airport but Kate. Kate tells Anna that even for something like this, James doesn't have the courage to face her and had asked Kate to come instead. Kate knows Anna is still holding out hope, and came to test if James really cared. Anna hadn't even bought a ticket, but Kate had bought one for her, making it clear that James had fully moved on. Anna believes her love for James is fate, but Kate explains that the first time James gave her a band-aid, it was actually one Kate had packed. Since Henry often got cuts, James always carried some. Anna also loves the fireworks James designs, but what she doesn't know is that Kate and James built their career together over the past 10 years. Kate challenges Anna to think about whether she loves James or the traces of another woman's life on him. In the end, Anna realizes the truth. She admits to Kate that she admires her, but Kate doesn't want to hear it. She simply says goodbye and leaves. When outside, Kate reconsiders and returns to the airport. This time, she buys the earliest ticket and decides to go on a spontaneous trip. Meanwhile, James, unable to reach Kate, goes to Ginny and Emma to ask where she is. Ginny angrily scolds him, while Emma is more reserved, calmly telling him to stop worrying about Kate and start reflecting on how badly he's treated her. Kate, now in an unfamiliar city, enjoys her time wandering around and exploring as if she's single again. That night, she sits in a bar, lighting matches one after the other, watching the small flame flicker before blowing them out. A young man approaches Kate at the bar. For years, she has dedicated herself entirely to her husband and son, but tonight, she makes a different choice. She decides to let the young man flirt with her, allowing herself to feel a moment of joy and lightheartedness. In a symbolic act of letting go, she removes her wedding ring and drops it into the melting candle wax. Despite the brief encounter, Kate returns to her hotel alone. There, she listens to the voicemail messages James has left, desperately pleading for her to let him know she's safe. But Kate doesn't want to respond. Instead, she quietly cries, feeling the weight of everything she's gone through. As she stares up at the ceiling, she thinks of the stained glass artwork James had created to symbolize their family's love. Suddenly, Kate jumps up and books a flight back to Shanghai, set to leave in just 40 minutes. She rushes into a taxi, and the driver warns her that they might not make it in time, but Kate remains hopeful. She thinks she can start over with James, erasing all the pain and betrayal and rebuilding their relationship from scratch. But when she arrives at the airport, Kate spots fireworks on a billboard, and something inside her changes. Fireworks, once a symbol of love between her and James, now only remind her of his betrayal, the lies, and the heartbreak. Realizing she can't go back, Kate changes her mind. She decides not to board the flight after all. As she steps outside the airport, she runs into the same taxi driver who had dropped her off earlier, and she brings Kate back to the hotel. Kate decides to call her two best friends to let them know she's safe and that they don't need to worry. She plans to stay in the city for a few days, enjoying some time away from her duties as a wife and mother. At work, due to Frank's orders, Emma is shunned by her colleagues, and even Jenny struggles to talk to her as comfortably as before. But Emma isn't one to back down. She calls on employees who know about Frank's embezzlement to send her any evidence they have, even anonymously. After collecting enough proof, Emma takes a USB drive to the company's investigation department. Frank, realizing he's being exposed, panics. He bans Emma from the office, but she stays persistent. Continuing her debt collection work and vowing to take Frank down, Emma comes up with a solution for the client's excess inventory, convincing Nicole to buy it as clearance stock. Having worked at Miss Hill, Emma knows how liquidation deals can benefit both sides. Nicole agrees, seeing the logic in Emma's plan. That night, on her way home, Frank confronts Emma, threatening her and even trying to bribe her to keep quiet. But Emma stands her ground, pushes him away, and returns home, still shaken. Shortly after, she gets a call from Mr. Wei, who asks to meet the next day. When they meet, Mr. Wei informs Emma that Frank has been arrested for investigation. He praises Emma for her bravery in standing up to Frank, someone who had been a long-standing problem. He also acknowledges her efforts in helping the client clear their excess stock. The next day, just as Kate and James are about to sign their divorce papers, James receives a call. There's been an accident at the fireworks factory, 2 workers have died, and 3 others are injured. Kate rushes back to handle the crisis. Ironically, the explosion was caused by the very same blue fireworks she had always warned James about, but he never listened. Kate decides to use all the company's funds to compensate the victims and their families. Meanwhile, James, as usual, leaves everything for Kate to manage. He sits in a corner, muttering that both the company and he are finished. Kate handles everything she can, but this time, James has to take responsibility. James watches Henry from afar at his preschool one last time before turning himself into the police. Meanwhile, Pete is shocked to discover that Ginny used most of her earnings from her book sales to buy a house for his mother in the countryside so she wouldn't have to rent anymore. Ginny and Emma rush to Kate's side when they hear about her family's situation. Kate tells them she plans to sell her house to help resolve the issue. The lawyer advises that if she can negotiate with the victims and their families, James's sentence might be reduced. So, Kate is prepared to sell everything she can to offer a fair settlement. Ginny visits her parents, and her mother heard about Ginny bought a house for her-in-law feel a bit offended. Ginny explains that Pete had used his savings to buy a home for the two of them, so now that she has the money, she wants to support him. She also adds that their family isn't as financially strained as Pete's. Pete, overhearing the conversation from outside, feels incredibly lucky to have married such a kind and thoughtful wife. Nicole offers Emma a job at her company, saying she's open to considering Emma for any position she wants. However, Emma declines, explaining that after what happened with Frank, she's afraid the next time, it could be her getting fired. Nicole reassures her, saying Emma needs to be more confident, reminding her that she's been doing great work and has nothing to fear. Meanwhile, Kate is running around, taking care of one issue after another. Seeing his daughter carry so much burden, Kate's father feels heartbroken, watching her again carry everything on her shoulder. Not long after, Ginny's book is finally published, and she has the launch event for her first novel. At the same time, Emma's 3-month work period comes to an end, and she meets with Mr. Way. He is very pleased with her performance over the last 3 months and keeps his promise by offering her the role of store manager at Miss Hill. However, Emma declines. Her confidence has grown during these 3 months, and she's realized her own potential. She shares with Mr. Way her desire to study abroad to further develop herself. Although surprised, Mr. Way acknowledges her talent and respects her decision. Meanwhile, the house that Kate once cared for is now up for sale. As she reflects on the happy family memories they shared there, her heart aches. She bakes a cake and brings it to Ms. Wang as a farewell gift, since she'll soon be moving. Ms. Wang, who has heard about Kate's family troubles, expresses her sympathy and even confesses that the Monet water lilies painting in her home is actually a fake. Kate smiles as it no longer matters to her. When she comes back home, Kate encounters the village chief. After hearing about her family's struggles, the entire tea village has gathered donations to help her, offering whatever they can. At first, Kate hesitates, knowing the villagers are not well off, but the chief insists, asking her not to reject their kindness. Holding the bundle of small bills they manage to collect, Kate feels deeply moved. The chief encourages her to stay strong before leaving. As part of her move, Kate also decides to withdraw Henry from the elite kindergarten she had worked so hard to get him into. Innocently, Henry still believes his father is just away on a business trip and asks if he can call him. Kate visits James in the prison, where, thanks to the settlement with the victims, he is only facing 3 years in prison. Even though it hasn't been long, James already looks worn down and mentally exhausted. Kate tells him that everything has been arranged. The fireworks company has been shut down, all employees have received their wages and severance before the new year, and her tea company is still running well enough to support her and Henry. James is ashamed because once again Kate is the one carrying all the responsibility. He understands that the best thing he can do for her is to agree to the divorce, so she can be free. Both of them fight back tears, mourning the loss of the happy family they once had. James apologizes through the glass and then returns to his cell. Afterward, Kate meets with Emma and Ginny for a meal. Emma shares her plans to study in Edinburgh, and her friends are thrilled for her. During their meal, they notice Kevin at the restaurant, and the sight of him makes them uncomfortable. Emma decides that it should be Kevin who feels uncomfortable, so she approaches him to say hello. Kevin is taken aback by how much Emma seems to have changed. Kevin tells Emma that he's broken up with Bella and hints that he wants to get back together with her. He invites her again to Iceland to see the northern lights. Emma laughs. Kevin clearly hasn't changed at all, still using the same tired pickup lines. She responds by saying she'd rather explore the world on her own. Emma returns to her table feeling delighted, laughing and joking with her two best friends. Dave decides to move to another city to start a new business with some friends. Ginny and Pete see him off, and on the way back, Ginny hints that she's pregnant. This time, Pete is overjoyed. They're both ready to become parents. As for Kate, she finally achieves part of what she's always wanted. Her tea company is starting to gain some recognition. She brings her father and Henry to the tea village to visit the villagers and the tea fields, and they spend a peaceful evening together, watching the night sky full of stars.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more videos like this.